What if the key to happiness was actually to stop trying to be happy? That's what today's episode is all about.
Life is beautiful.
The Theo Bros Podcast.
How we doing? I am Mike Theo.
I am Nick Theo.
And you are listening to the Theo Bros Podcast.
Where you can count on daily wisdom to get your mind right. So, Mike, I got this little story about a wealthy investment banker who goes to a small fisherman's town.
I know this one.
Yeah? Well, you're going to hear it again. So, a wealthy investment banker goes on vacation to a tropical fishing village. As he walks along the docks one afternoon, he comes upon a small, rundown fishing boat with several large fish on the deck. "How long did it take you to catch those fish?" he asks. The fisherman looks up from his work and smiles at his new visitor. "Only a little while." The investment banker is caught off guard by this response. He likes the fisherman and wants to help. "Why don't you fish for longer so you can catch more fish?" The fisherman shrugs and explains to his new friend that he has all he needs. "Each day, I sleep late, I fish a little, I spend time with my children and beautiful wife, and in the evening, I go into town, drink wine, play the guitar, sing, and laugh with my friends." The investment banker is just confused. He wants to help his new friend, who he recognizes is clearly also confused. The investment banker has helped a ton of businesses in the past because he has an MBA and other fancy credentials to his name, so he lays out a plan for the fisherman. First, you spend more time fishing, so you can catch and sell more fish. You use the proceeds to buy a bigger boat, which allows you to catch and sell even more fish. Then, you buy a fleet of boats, you hire a team, you vertically integrate. As a CEO of a large growing enterprise, you could move to the big city. You would take your company public and make millions. The fisherman looks confused, but he smiles and says, "And then what?" And the investment banker laughs at the silly question. "Well, then you could retire to a quiet town. You could sleep late, fish a little, spend time with your children and your beautiful wife, and in the evening, you can go into town, drink wine, play the guitar, and sing and laugh with your friends." The fisherman smiles broadly, thanks his new friend for the advice, and wanders off slowly into the warm afternoon sun.
That is freaking great. Happiness is about appreciating what we have, not always getting what we want. That to me is the moral of that story. And it reminds me of a time in my life where one of my first jobs was being a waiter in a local restaurant in Brooklyn. And downstairs in the basement was where there were all the chefs. And the chefs down there, they didn't really have much, right? It was the chefs and the busboys. They didn't really have much. Like they rode their bikes to work even in the freezing cold. You can tell they weren't the wealthiest individuals. And they were working down in the basement. There was no windows down there. Like it was smoky all the time. It just was not ideal conditions. But when I tell you, they were 4 to 5 times happier than everybody upstairs. They were 4 to 5 times happier than everyone upstairs. And it reminds me of this story because they were happy with what they had. They made the best of it. They were simply grateful for the opportunity to work. I remember on Thursday nights or Friday nights, they would get some beers and they'd drink beers and they'd always be playing Latin music and dancing while they're cooking. They just made the most of it. They just had fun and made the most of the little that they had. And they were genuinely happier than us upstairs. And it's a funny metaphor that we were upstairs, they were downstairs, but it just reminds me of that. And that was a very important lesson for me, that happiness is really about wanting what you already have, not getting more of what you want.
So why do we get it so mixed up so often?
Why do you think?
It's interesting what you said about, I'm assuming that those people you're talking about were immigrants.
Exactly.
And I think that if you look at the immigrant mentality, you often see that to be true because they're grateful to be in a country that allows them the freedom to pursue whatever they want, to be who they want to be, to make as much money as they want to be. And I think the further we get away from that, those immigrants that are in our family, because everyone that came to America was at one point an immigrant, the more entitled we get.
You're a Native American.
Yeah, that's true. But most of America is immigrants. So I think the further you get away from that, if you lose like the connection to those roots, that you are blessed to be here, that you have this opportunity, the more likely you are to start feeling entitled and then not being happy until you can put more things in your life.
Yeah. I think they just had less desires than us. Like their desire has already been met in a way. Like their desire was to build a better life for their future generations, and in a way they've like already gone through the worst, and so their desires are no longer being met. And Naval has a great quote. He says, "Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get the thing that you want." And that's what the banker was coming to this fisherman and trying to get him to do, is make this contract to be unhappy until he gets more. Like, you should be going after more. Like,
See, I have an interesting take on this. People will look at the banker and be like, what an asshole. That guy is never going to be happy. I disagree. I think that the banker can be happy and the fisherman can be happy. And it's all because of the meaning they derive from the things they are doing. So for the banker, right, he is finding a great deal of meaning in the work that he's doing. The problem here is he's trying to project that on someone else.
Yeah.
That is the issue here, where you think just because this makes me happy, it's going to make you happy, which is not true. You need to find your own path to happiness. This is my path to happiness. This is what I really enjoy doing.
I see. That's a great point. I think that's a definitely interesting tangent we can go on, but I do want to keep this tight in terms of the value we want to provide for the people listening. And I think the main idea we really want to focus on is this idea that chasing happiness can sometimes lead to your greatest unhappiness.
Yeah,
And sometimes happiness is really about wanting what you already have.
That's a great way to put it. And Jim Carrey has this great quote that I always go back to. And he says, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see it's not the answer."
Yeah, I love that quote. That quote always hits me.
Isn't that crazy? For someone who's gotten there, who's gone to the other side, became rich and famous, and said that it's not what you think it is there.
Yeah. One thing that like my mind says here is, okay, but like,
So is desire bad?
yeah, is desire bad? Like, should I stop? Like, nothing's going to stop me from chasing my goals. Like, it's just who I am. I'm an ambitious person.
Yeah. So I would say the answer to that question is no. I think that having goals to go after is never a bad thing because growth is a part of happiness. But I think it's really about changing the mindset from I need to achieve to be happy to I need to happily achieve. And it's the people that think that when they get the money is when they're going to be happy are the ones that get there and realize, oh shit, I'm still unhappy. And I think the people that can be happy at the bottom, like you said, right, and then make their way to the top are happy because money just makes us more of who we are.
Yeah. I also think that gratitude is really the cure-all here. Like, if you're grateful for what you have, you put yourself into this state of abundance. And if you are constantly striving to fill an emptiness inside, that is coming from a place of scarcity. And so the energy you're putting out into the world, chasing those goals, is a scarcity energy, and you're only pushing those goals further and further and further. You can be ambitious and grateful. There is no reason those two things cannot coexist.
Yeah.
They are not opposites. Yeah. They can be yes-anded. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for this episode for me personally, as someone who is constantly chasing, constantly striving, is rooted in gratitude. Rooted in being grateful for where you already are, and operate from this place of abundance where I already have everything I need. And everything I want is just bonus. It's just bonus. It's just a game that I'm playing for the fun of it. But I already have everything I need within me now. If you look at it, I have a beautiful life. I have everything I need.
Love that. So you got a call to action for people?
Yeah, today I want to just make it a mantra that people can bring into their day. I'm really doing this call to action for myself today. And
this whole podcast is really for ourselves. So.
Yeah, so if this helps you, it helps you, that would be fantastic. But for me, the mantra I'm repeating throughout my day today is, I am enough exactly as I am. I think it's a reminder that I need constantly, because I feel like so much of my desire and striving is to fill the sense of emptiness, like this insecurity that I have within. Like, oh yeah, once I get this success, once this podcast blows up, once I'm a mega millionaire, whatever the hell it is in the future, I can finally like relax. Like I'll have made it. And the truth is, I am enough exactly as I am right now.
Nice.
And that reminder is so important. You are enough exactly as you are right now. And try not to forget that, because it really is important.
The grateful person is rich.
Hell yeah.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end.
If you're new here, we share daily mindset motivation in 10 minutes or less.
So if that's your vibe, hit subscribe or check out another episode right here.